Okay, so today we're going to continue talking about movies. And I want to first discuss plot. The meaning of plot basically is the process of the story, what happens in the story. So when you talk about the plot of a movie or a TV show, you just give the main ideas along the way, the main ideas of what happens. You don't have to give every detail, okay? So I'm going to go through the plot of a movie that I think most of you have probably seen. A very famous movie, the Titanic. Titanic. Is it the Titanic or Titanic? I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to go through the plot of this, and I'm going to talk about why I used these words and phrases as we go, okay? So let's begin. Titanic is a historical drama about the romance of two young people who meet on the Titanic on its maiden voyage. Okay, now, historical means it happened before. That doesn't mean that everything in the story happened, but that means that it is based on something real. This did happen. There was a Titanic. It did sink or go down, right? And so we can call it historical because it is based on history. Based on history. If something is based on something, this story is based on this book, this story is based on real events, that means it is pretty much about that. But maybe some tiny details are not the same. So it is a historical drama. Drama means that it's pretty serious. It's not a comedy. Okay, it's meant to give you some emotional reactions that are very real. Okay, so it's a drama. Historical drama about the romance. The romance. Now, I could have said this is a romantic film. A romantic film. That would be okay too. Most people would consider Titanic to be a romance. But I want to say that it's a historical drama so that I can also say romance later. So I want to include every part in my description of the story. The Titanic is a historical drama about the romance of two young people who meet on the Titanic. Remember, romance is a love story, and the name of the ship is the Titanic. Okay, so they meet on this ship on its maiden voyage. Maiden voyage means its first voyage. Maiden voyage, the first one, the first time it goes across the sea. Voyage means journey, travel, trip. Okay, so actually the Titanic only went on one voyage and then it sank halfway through. Okay, so we can call this the maiden voyage. Jack, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, is a poor American who wins a ticket onto the Titanic in a game of cards. So remember, played by describes the relationship between the actor and the character. And I can use who to connect what happens to him, okay? So he's a young American played by Leonardo DiCaprio who wins a ticket onto the Titanic in a game of cards. If you play cards and you can win or lose things, we would call this gambling. Gambling. Rose, played by Kate Winslet, is the opposite. So we said he's a poor American. She's the opposite, so she must not be poor and must not be American. She's the opposite. She's proper and rich. Proper means you're not very carefree. Maybe you're more serious and you don't let your emotions be shown. You don't let your emotions out very much. You follow the customs, you follow the culture, you do what people think you are going to do. You do what is polite all the time. You're a very proper person. Proper. So she's proper and she's rich. And she is set to marry a man she doesn't love. Set to means it is arranged. I'm set to go to Thailand tomorrow. That means everything is arranged. I have done everything to do that. I am set to do that. She is set to marry a man. Everything is ready. She will. It's going to happen, probably. Okay, she is set to marry a man she doesn't love. Okay, but he's very rich. That man gives her a very expensive gem necklace. A gem is a very valuable stone. A gem necklace. So, she's very rich and she's going to marry this other rich man. She's set to marry him, but she doesn't love him. She meets Jack and finds him very different. If you find something very different, it means you realize it. You think, oh, this is not what I'm used to. I find it very interesting. I find it very funny. I find it wonderful. So if you find something as something, you see it and then you realize, oh, this is my opinion. Okay. She meets Jack and finds him very different, separate from her world. So a world can be like a planet, but a world can also be what is around you, what surrounds you, what you always see. My world is the things that I do every day, the people I meet every day, what kinds of things I think about and talk about every day. This is my world. We can say each of us has our own world. So Rose's world is talking with other high class, we could say, rich people, and having a certain behavior, being very proper. And this guy who's very poor on the Titanic, Jack, is very different. He's in the third class. That means the lower class. First class, second class, third class. He's in the third class. And his lifestyle is very different. So they are in two different worlds, we can say. They are in two different worlds. Okay? Separate from her world. He takes her to the third class quarters and teaches her how to dance. And they have a lot of adventures together. Okay? So at one point in the movie, they go down to the lower class and they have sort of a party and dance and have a lot of fun. And this experience for her is very different from her world. Adventures just means you do a lot of things you didn't expect. Adventures means you do new things, you do exciting things, okay? So she does a lot of exciting and new things with him. Finally, they fall in love. Finally, they fall in love. Perhaps, and now this is the opinion of me, so you don't always have to say exactly what happens when you're describing the plot. You can give your opinion. Perhaps the most poignant moment in the early part of the film is when Jack takes her to the front of the ship and asks her to close her eyes. Poignant means it's very strong, it's very vivid, it's very clear. I can remember this moment. This is one of the most famous parts of the movie. So it's very poignant, it's very clear in my mind. It's poignant. Okay. So let me read that part again. They finally fall in love. Perhaps the most poignant moment in the early part of the film is when Jack takes her to the front of the ship and asks her to close her eyes. When she opens them, she feels as though she is flying because she can only see the sky and the sea. When she opens her eyes, she sees the sky and the sea. She doesn't see the ship in front of her because it's all behind her. So it's a very poignant moment. It's a very dramatic moment. It's a very memorable moment. We can describe a moment in a movie that's very clear in your mind as very memorable. Memorable. When the ship hits the iceberg is the big piece of ice in the sea that the ship hits, and it makes a hole in the ship. When the ship hits the iceberg, it is ignored at first. Ignored means you don't pay attention to it. Just an iceberg. But soon the ship starts sinking. Sinking means it begins to go down into the water. It begins to sink. Everybody is in a panic. So you can be panicked. I am panicked. Or panicking is a verb. Panicked is an adjective. Panicking is a verb. Or to panic is a verb. But in a panic is a noun. Everyone on the ship is running around screaming, ah, ah, ah. They are in a panic. As a noun, describing this scene is a panic. Okay? Jack and Rose end up in the sea as the ship goes down. Jack and Rose end up. So this is the final result. If you want to talk about what happens, what happened? You can say they ended up doing this. If you want to talk about something you decided to do, did you decide this, A or B? Well, I ended up choosing A. That means that's the result. Okay? So Jack and Rose ended up in the sea, or end up in the sea as the ship goes down. I forgot, I'm using present tense. Sometimes when you describe a movie, you can use the past tense. You can also use the present tense, means it's happening now. And that's okay. But once you choose one, it's better to stay in that one. Many people are in the water and many people die because it's so cold. Rose climbs up onto a door and Jack stays with her in the freezing water. If something is very, very, very cold, we can describe it as freezing. Freezing cold. Freezing cold. Jack stays with her in the freezing water. It's so cold, he finally dies. But he makes her promise that she will live a full life. Full life means you do many things. You do the most you can. We would describe that as a full life. He makes her promise that she will live a full life. And she does. And she does. Finally, at the end, we see that she has kept the expensive gem her whole life. But when she revisits means goes to again, the site where the ship sank, she drops it into the sea. Okay, so this is one way to describe the plot or the story of this movie. You can do it in your own way. And you can add your own personal opinions, your own feelings. I said the most poignant moment for me in the early part of the film. So you can do this according to what you think is most important, what you think stands out, what you think is memorable. So try describing the plot of a movie as a way to practice your ability to describe things. If you can do it with some detail and make it interesting, you're welcome to tell me about it, and I can help you to maybe make it more clear. Okay, now also when we're talking about a movie we saw, we can give a review of the movie. And a review of something is when you say what you think after you walk out of the cinema or finish the movie. You can say your opinion. I'm just going to give you a couple of examples of things you might say about movies. And these will be just general comments. Okay, so I'm going to read them. I really enjoyed the movie because of the characters. The writers did a good job making them interesting, and the acting really brought it alive. Really brought it alive. The plot could have been better, but all in all, it was very good. So, if something brought it alive, that means the writing is good, but the actors made it seem very, very real. So, the acting brought it alive, or brought it to life. Brought it to life. Okay? The plot could have been better. That means the plot or the story was so-so. It could have been better. It's one way to say I didn't like it very much. It could have been better. But all in all, that means generally. Generally, all in all, very good. Okay, so that means if you consider everything, I like this movie. Although some aspects, some points were not so good. I thought this movie was a little slow, but for the most part means generally, all in all. Basically the same thing as all in all. For the most part, I liked it. The characters were real and the plot made sense. That doesn't mean the characters were actually real. It just means they seemed to be real. Maybe the acting was very good. And the plot made sense. If something makes sense, that means it's logical, it's clear. I can understand everything that happened. If something very weird happened, and you don't know why it happened, you can say, That makes no sense. Why did that happen? That made no sense. Okay? So if something's very clear and you understand the reason, it makes sense. Here's an example of maybe a movie you didn't like. I wasn't a huge fan of this movie. There was too much action. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Also, there were about 1,000,000 plot holes. And the acting was awful. I almost walked out. Okay, so if you're in the cinema and you walk out, that means you really hate the movie. You almost walk out. Okay. I wasn't a huge fan of this movie. A fan of something means you really like it. So if you're not a huge fan, you didn't really like it. There was too much action. So action is good, but maybe some people don't like always having action in the movie. So there was too much. I felt like I couldn't breathe. So I couldn't breathe because there's so much action. Maybe you can't feel relaxed when you watch the movie. Also, there were about 1,000,000 plot holes. Now, 1,000,000, of course not. That is an exaggeration when you say something that is not true, but you say it to make a point. About 1,000,000. If you say something is about 1,000,000 of that, it just means many. So there were about 1,000,000 plot holes. Plot holes is when something should be there in the story so that the plot makes sense, but it wasn't there. So that's a plot hole. Why did this happen? It makes no sense. Oh, plot hole. That means something should be there, but nothing is there. The acting was awful. Acting was awful. That means very bad. Awful means very bad. I almost walked out. Okay. So when you're talking about what you thought about a movie, be honest, but say why you think what you think. Okay? Give a reason. Give some support. So if you have any questions about movies, how to describe the plot, how to talk about characters, how to talk about actors and actresses, how to talk about what you thought of the movie, you can ask me on WeChat and I will help you. Okay? So I'll see you next time.